Hi, I'm Gary Christmas, and I'm your personal trainer for deep soul transformation. Today, I've got three things to share with you about integrating your higher self into your body. Number one, most people are completely unaware of how much their higher self actually influences their daily lives. Number two, just watching this video and acknowledging your higher self is a big step towards your own personal evolution. Number three, you can fully integrate your higher self into your body. It's a very powerful process. And when you are ready, I'd like to show you how to do it. Send me a message when you're ready to start your personal transformation.
Hello.
Hi, Gary. Hi,
Hello.
everybody.
Here is our guest, Gary. Let's see who he's got in chat here. I think it was Batmom.
Yes,
And Ben.
Mom and Ben. What's up,
Yeah.
Ben?
Ooh,
Welcome, Gary. Thank you so much for coming on our show. We are super excited to have you talk about all kinds of things, the higher self, but your experience and what you're doing now is super interesting as well. So, thank you.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you, ladies, for having me.
So we are going to be talking about higher selves. Susie, I don't know if you wanted to kind of talk about what you
Okay.
feel that means.
Well, definitely. I want to welcome Batmom and Ben, and you guys picked a really good night to join us.
Yeah.
Like always, the link will be in the chat. Well, I thought we would start by me and Jara saying what our definition of the higher self is, and then Gary could help expand us on that. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay. So, my definition of my higher self is like the real you, the you that is with Creator. And for me, I believe in reincarnation. So, it's all of my past selves, all the knowledge of my past selves, all of the things that I gained through every life is there with my higher self. And my higher self is my guide. And I often call on my higher self. So that's what I guess. Let me see, what else could I add to that? Yeah, just all the means that I've ever been and all the knowledge. And that's my main person, my guide. Jara?
My definition is very similar, super duper similar. So I also believe in reincarnation. I haven't always. I do now, very strongly, actually. And I do believe that my higher self is all of me, all of every possibility in me that there is or ever will be is in that higher self. So I feel like it is like the self or the part that is with source that helps to guide me. It's that gut feeling that you get, or that part of you that has a knowing about certain things. It's that higher self, and I feel like that's the part of me that gives me courage to be who I am in a situation where most of the people around me are disagreeing with me for some reason, and I know that something's not right, and I stand up for myself, or I stand up for whatever it is. It's that, I think that's my higher self that gives me the courage to do things like that. Is the best way that I can explain it, I guess.
Beautiful.
I think
Beautiful.
one more thing. I think one more thing I want to add is like I also think that my higher self is my subconscious, like is the one that's in there that knows everything, because your subconscious mind knows everything. And so I think there's a
Right.
connection there. I could be wrong, but that's just a thought that I have about it.
I agree with that. I believe that as well. Like I believe that you know how to heal your own body. You just haven't learned how to access that knowing yet. So yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
How close were we, Gary? Were we pretty
Well,
close? I guess there's no
I
wrong
think
answer.
I think it's all of that and then some. If we think of ourselves as body, mind, and spirit. And in our body, we have our mind, you know, and our mind is part of our existence. And then we have the spiritual side of us.
Mm.
Those three components really make up this being that we are.
Right.
But the spiritual side, there is a spiritual essence that's in our body. And then there's a lot of our spiritual essence that typically does not reside within the body. It resides outside of the body. If you can imagine an hourglass, for instance, you know, you turn it over and the sand starts coming down from the top.
Mm-hmm.
So we would be the bottom part of that. And the higher self comes into our body occasionally and gives us visions, gives us, like you said, you know, Jara, it gives you the strength, you know, when you need it, and gives you
Mm-hmm.
visions when you need a vision of your future. Following those visions that your higher self gives you could save your life,
Right.
and take you from going down one path to literally taking you and going down another path, which is what happened to me as a young man. A gentleman that I was just on a long road trip with in Michigan about a week and a half ago was telling me about his son. And his
Mm-hmm.
son aspires to be an NFL quarterback. And he's really talented and he's really good at what he does. And he was telling me how spiritual they are and their culture and how spiritual their son is. And his son keeps getting this vision of playing for this particular team in this particular situation. But he's still a young man and he's not in that space yet. And I told him, I said, I believe that's his higher self giving him that vision so that he can
Mm-hmm.
choose it, because that's there for him. If he chooses to go that direction, he will be an NFL quarterback. But first he's got to take that road, you know, he's got to go down that path. And so our higher self is, you know, just like you ladies said, it's all of those things. It is you and all of you that you've ever been, and all of you that will ever be. It is your connection directly to the divine creator of all that has ever been and all that will ever be. Only it keeps us in the now. When you are connected to your higher self, you're present. And
Right.
when your higher self, and we'll talk about it, when we incorporate our higher selves and really bring our higher selves into our body, which is what a technique that I teach. I teach a very fast way of bringing your higher self into your body completely. And it's very similar to what the Buddhists teach, you know, their path of enlightenment. You go through their steps in their process. The, you know, Christians teach it as being, you know, being saved, having Jesus in your body. You know, in Islam, they talk about their path and all these different isms, Sufism and Judaism, and all these ways. They have their own ways of incorporating and bringing your higher self into your body. They just call it different things. And throughout the years, we can get into it later, throughout the years, I've worked with my higher self and have experienced deep spiritual connections through my higher self, and developed a relationship that earlier this year enabled me to ask very direct questions, get very direct answers, and come up with a very fast way to bring my higher self into my body and then teach that to other people. And so that's why you ladies have me on. That's what we were talking about. That's
Right.
how we found each other.
Yeah. Tell us, like, so I imagine having your higher self integrated with you would make things a lot easier, right? So tell for people that might not know, like, what kind of benefits, what kind of things does this bring you?
Well, the number one benefit to most people are not fully present in the moment. You know, we're feeling the past and the result, you know, the issues from the past, they affect us. And then we're actually thinking about the future and either stressed or have anxiety about the future, or guilt or shame or whatever about the past. I call it fog: fears, obstacles, and guilt. And, you know, most of us, we stay in that fog a lot of times, and it's really high anxiety and frustration, and we don't sleep well and all those things. When you bring your higher self literally into your physical body, imagine the hourglass, imagine all that sand in the top coming down
Mm-hmm.
into the bottom, into your body. And when that happens, your presence in the moment that is right now is so pure and so aware and so vivid that people around you notice. People around you know, they're like, wow, what is going on with you? And I'll mention I spent the last couple of weeks around some very interesting people, people of renown, and I was surprised how they gravitate towards me when I have my higher self in my body. I'm a very magnetic personality. I say the right things. I do the right things with the right highest energy, and it's not an ego thing. It's a spiritual awareness of all that is going around you. So your intuition
Right.
is very, very high. Your sense of what to say, how to be, what to do is just on point with your highest good. And so if you're
Oh, wow.
if you're sincerely
Right.
wanting to be and do your highest good, I highly suggest you work with your higher self. And if you would like to have your higher self integrated in your body, please reach out to me. I'm happy to show people how to do this.
Amazing. Amazing. How do you do this?
It's
It's a
because
very
you're like frequency, you know, you're in resonance. And if I apologize if my computer dies here, you guys, I will pull up my phone just to let you know my power is going out here and it's not turning
Well,
on. But
plug it in.
you're in resonance, you know, your frequency and you're in alignment. And to me, that's what that definitely sounds like when other people notice that. It's like beautiful music that's playing, you know.
Well, it's really a lot more than being in alignment with your higher self. So working with your higher self is being in alignment with and listening to your higher self and the guidance that you normally get in your normal state. And if you get that guidance and you follow that, that's working with your higher self, integrating your
Right.
higher self, pulling your higher self from the ethers, from the spirit, pulling your higher spiritual nature into your physically body is a very different thing.
I bet that
And
has health
most people
benefits.
don't get that. Most people
Yeah.
don't
How
get
is
that.
that? How is it different?
I bet that's healthy
Well,
or good for you.
I just stated it. You know, if when you're working with your higher self, that's one thing. When you incorporate them, you bring them into your body, into your physical body. It's a very, very different experience. I've taken many people through it now, and when I did a group session a few weeks ago at Visions and Dreams, and there were 8 people there, and I tried bringing people through in a group, and it really didn't work. So I had to do each person one at a time. Because our energy has to be ready in the body. And so I had to do physical work on people's chakras in order to get their body ready for this. It's a very unique experience. And
Amazing.
each person, once higher self integration occurred with this person, I literally had to walk them back to their chair very delicately because they're kind of wobbly. It's like they were almost on a drug, but they weren't. All we had to drink was water, you know, and so as I walked them back to their seat and they sat down really delicately, it's a very different experience of the human condition when your highest spiritual nature is in your body. It's not like anything that anyone has experienced typically.
Now, can that be used for healing purposes or like for physical illness, or is it more just
Absolutely. No, it's
Yeah,
absolutely used for all things. And so I've also been a Reiki master since 1999. I've worked on thousands of people, literally. And so I still do that energy work sometimes. And I can tell you that when your higher spiritual nature is in your body is a better healing tool. It helps to facilitate the healing process for yourself and also helps you to do spiritual and physical and emotional healing on other people. And I've got testimonies, people can see them, just hit my Facebook page. There's testimonials all over it of people that have really experienced physical, emotional, and spiritual healing and evolution through this process.
And don't you also integrate some type of healing work in the higher self type of thing where you help somebody go in and take a look at themselves? Do you do that type of work with them as well?
Yes, it depends on the person and the situation. Yeah, it depends on the person and the situation. I have something else that I've developed called the forgiveness protocol, and I use them in conjunction. I do these full day sessions with people as well, where we do the forgiveness protocol and a higher self integration. And the reason the forgiveness protocol is so important is because most of us, we still haven't forgiven anybody. We just drag around all of this anxiety and judgment, and that judgment really hardens our heart. It prevents us from really fully experiencing our joy, our nature of joy is very important. And without joy, people go through life quite miserable a lot of times. And so working with people to forgive everything in their childhood, they're not just their mother and their father and their siblings, but everything that occurred in their childhood, and then everything in their teenage years, everything in their young adult years, everything in their current adult years, and then everything on the outer world, the big agencies, the countries, the money, the systems, all the things that we judge and really have stress about. Forgive all of that, and then forgive ourselves for judging it in the first place, and then evolve to a place to where we're not judging ourselves or others at all. We just notice things and then adapt. Okay, what do I want to do about that? I'm not going to judge myself or judge them. I'm going to say, do I want that energy in my life? Do I want to continue to have that energy? And then I can choose based on my preference, you know?
Right. I know. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes it's like, it seems like it should be so simple, so many things, right? Because really, we all can do that. And a lot of times it's like, why don't we do that? But we choose to be obstinate instead. I guess ego, that's where ego comes in.
Well, if you think about it, none of us were taught anything about our spiritual nature in school,
right?
And even in the religions, you know, I have nothing against religions. I think every religion has its purpose, and you know, some of them are, you know, more aligned with spiritual growth than others, but they all, I think, serve a purpose, and you know, keeping our heart open, and that's a really important thing. But to your question is, why don't we do things differently? Is our culture on earth has not taught us to do things differently. We live in a fear culture, fear in our news, fear in our education, fear in our monetary system, fear in our medical, you know, profession, fear. And so it's harder for us to get to a state where we're not operating out of fear. And once we can get there, then we're more open to doing things different. And I can tell you this: when your higher self is in your body, you are not in a state of fear. You are not in a state of anxiety. You're in a state of knowing.
Yep.
And it's calm, and it's very real, and you act differently when you're in a state of higher self integration.
I want that so bad.
Right. I know. I feel like there's a glimpse of that feeling when you feel like you should be not calm, and you are, because you're in that type of a knowing. That's a strange feeling, but it's
it comes and goes. But I would love for it to be there to stay.
I know it's fleeting, isn't it? At least for me.
But I do a similar something with hypnosis, but I don't know what you do, where I actually like integrate them into my body. But I do a similar thing where you can connect to your higher self in hypnosis, and it's very powerful and very healing, and it's just motivating. So I just love sharing that with people. So it's different than yours, though.
Yeah, there's hers works too, because I'm a patient. Well, I'm a client. Am I a patient or a client, Susie? I don't know what you would call me.
Well, like we were speaking about before the show, ladies, the higher self is not just a one-sided thing. A higher self is very multidimensional, and each one of us, not just you and I, but all the people listening to this and everyone who ever comes across this, we are all multidimensional beings. And if you would like to really experience that, I'm sure that your hypnosis technique of working with your higher self is very beneficial. I've worked with my higher self since I was a young man, and it's helped me to change my life. Incorporating and really integrating your higher self into your body is another level. And once you do that, and you really have your higher self in your body, you'll discover that it's not like, oh, now it's here and I'm all done. No. Once you get your higher self into your body, or even through the hypnosis technique, you start working with your higher self. That's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. It's not a light switch. It's more like a process. It's like getting into an elevator and you go from the first floor to the second floor. You go, oh, I'm on the second floor, my higher self. Yeah, well, there's 20,000 more floors. And when you get to the 20,000th floor, then you get to another dimension where it's not even an elevator anymore. It's like you're popping into other dimensions. And so Multidimensional travel is possible, multidimensional knowledge. The great thing is about this sort of process is once you start working with the higher levels of your higher self, you'll realize that there are beings there, there is consciousness there that will help you. If you go there, like some people will do plant medicines, they'll do ayahuasca or mushrooms or peyote or, various different things to go there. And when I speak with the beings that are on these different levels, they'll say, oh yeah, we see people here all the time, but they're just having fun. They just go there for entertainment. They go there to look around and go, wow, isn't it cool? All these shapes and things. Oh, this feels really good. But they're just there for entertainment purposes. And I go there to learn, and I go there to ask questions, and I go there to evolve. And if you go there with the intent to evolve, they will help you.
Right.
Wow.
That's a good question. Bat Mom is asking, what happened in your life that led you to start doing this on yourself? So I don't know if you want to talk about what happened.
Well, when I was 19, I was living in Texas. I had long hair, playing in rock and roll bands, riding Harleys, and selling drugs and doing stupid things as a young man. And I went to Rio de Mexico, and me and 60 of my biker friends, we took over the mountain. And long story short, everybody else was getting drunk and high, and it didn't matter how much I drank or what I smoked or what I did. I couldn't get drunk or high. Everybody else was having a great time, and I was normal. And so I looked at my girlfriend and said, you stay right there, I'll be right back. And I started walking up the mountain, and I looked up at the moon and the trees and everything. And I said, what's wrong with me? How come I can't get drunk? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Finally, I got to the top of the mountain and I screamed, what's wrong with me? And my higher self, I didn't realize it at the time, but my higher self came into my body and showed me a vision of my future where I didn't have long hair. I wasn't riding a Harley. Instead, I had a tie on. I was in an office. I was telling people what to do, and they were listening to me. Now, at the time, I was 19. People wouldn't even let me in an office. They would call the cops if I tried to walk in an office. It was all biker chains and everything. And so I got that vision very clear, and my higher self really made it known to me that I had a choice to make at that moment. And I could either listen and follow through with that vision, or I could stay where I'm at and live like I was living. And I chose to follow that vision. And so very shortly thereafter, I moved from Texas to California, cut my hair, got a job. And that first job, I stayed at that job for 12 years. And I started making no money. And when I left, I was making a lot of money. And I had evolved. I had met all the people that I saw in that vision on that mountain. Those people were in my daily life. I saw them. I saw them before it ever happened. And so, when you get a vision, it's different than a dream.
Right.
And when you get a vision, it comes through that higher self mechanism, which is our connection to the divine and our divine purpose of why we're here on this earth. And I can tell you, if I hadn't followed that vision, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Years later, I started working with the Navajo and the Hopi, and through listening to my higher self, regardless of all the criticisms that I was getting from everyone, I was not getting a lot of support. I had to do it anyways, because I knew inside myself, I could see this vision of what was possible, and it didn't make any sense to me logically. And yet, because of the work that we did, we got, many homes built in the Bennett Freeze area. I don't know if people know what that is, but it's at 1.5 million acres that Robert Bennett of the BIA froze in 1966. And there was no building or construction of any kind from 1966 to 2009 when Obama lifted it. And they could start building homes in them, but there was nobody was doing that because everybody left. And so I started working with.
And where was that?
This was on the Navajo Nation. A gentleman named Harold Begay, who was a Navajo medicine man. We went out to his land in a place called Naatani, which is in the Bennett Freeze. And I told him my vision. And I said, I want to do a peace ceremony here on your sacred land. And he brought me into his hogan and lit a fire and used eagle feathers and started talking in Navajo and put a coal in his mouth and breathed it on my chakras and put his hand in my heart. And after about 2 hours of that, he said, his wife, Lily Redster, they both passed on now. God bless them both. But Lily said, he said, you're the real thing. And so we'll work with you. And
Oh, wow,
he had
that's
only
cool.
one request, and that request was that we do the events there on Earth Day. And so we did. And
Oh, wow.
as a result, Rex Lee Jim, who was the vice president of the Navajo Nation at the time, he actually showed up to our first event, did prayers with us in the Hogan. And later on that year, this was 2011, later on that year, he changed the way money worked in the Navajo Nation and sent money right exactly to where we were and built homes there. The first homes that were built since
Wow.
1966 were built because of this crazy vision and all the people coming together and the prayers that we did, and the fact that we followed this vision changed a
is
lot of
amazing.
people's lives, you know.
Wow.
Wow.
And since then,
Oh,
I've listened to
wow.
my higher self many times. I've got to introduce the Kogi, which is a lost tribe in Colombia, South America. Got to introduce Mama Louise, who's a spiritual leader of the Kogi people, to the Dalai Lama, as well as Ruben Safki, who's a Hopi elder. Got to introduce him to the Dalai Lama. He got to hug the Dalai Lama because I follow these crazy visions, you know. And
I have chills so bad
yeah.
right now.
So
Right.
Wow,
always
that's
listen to your higher
amazing.
self, ladies, and anyone listening, please always listen to your higher self. It doesn't matter if
Right.
it sounds crazy. Listen anyways.
Yeah, and not just because of like what it's gonna do for you, but like you said, look at all the people that you blessed, that were blessed because of you following that. So like everyone, you know, if you just pay attention and if you're try to be present and intentional with things, you could inadvertently just change many people's lives in an amazing way and not even realize it. Or you could realize it, you know.
That's right. And you
Yeah.
don't necessarily need me to do that, or hypnosis to do that. You know, the tool that Creator gave us all is to pray. Praying is how we focus our physical and our mental faculties to the spiritual way. And so praying doesn't even matter what you call God. The Kogi call it Aluna, you know, Islam, they call it Allah, you know, and Jesus didn't speak English. He didn't call God God. Jesus called God Elah, which is, you know, if you go back to his original language, it's Elah. And so there's many different names for God, the creator of all that is, has been, and shall ever be. But there's only one creator, and the path to that creator is through prayer.
Yep, I agree. One of our viewers says, it's Bat Mom. She says, "How do you know that's your higher self and not God?" And I have a kind of a little answer for that, and you guys can tell me what you think. But I believe that your higher self is the God within you, because we have God within us, and I believe that we're not separate from God. So how does everybody? How do you guys? What do you think about that?
Jara, what do you think? Uh-oh, we lose her.
Oh, is she frozen?
Yeah,
She
I
kind of
think she's
hasn't
frozen.
moved for a minute.
Yeah, I think she's going to log back in. So
Yeah,
I
she'll
think you're
pop back in.
right. I think you're right. Our higher self is God within us. And in fact, if you go back and you look at all the spiritual teachers, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, you know, it doesn't matter which spiritual teacher you look to, even in India and indigenous and all that, they'll tell you that the God is within us. God is literally inside of every living thing, and everything is living. God is in the air, God is in the water, and we are 70% water, and we breathe air. And so all of our cells have God in them. All of our physical body has God. Our emotional body has God. Our mental body has God. And our spiritual body has God and is God. So it's a very complex, it's much more complex than I think most religions would like to admit. They like to think, oh, our way's the only way, and here's how it works. And yet there she is.
Sorry about that, guys. My computer.
All good.
A new power supply.
All good. But I think you're right. You know, Susie, our God is within us, and that is the path to God is within us. It's not outside of us. It's not in a book.
Right.
It's inside of us. And so the higher self integration process, I take people through the process of bringing their highest spiritual nature, which is God, their path to God, bringing that into their body so they can really feel the presence of God within them now in this moment. In fact, before the show, I did a higher self integration. So right now I'm fully integrated. My higher self is inside of me, and I'm speaking to you from my highest spiritual presence right now.
Love it. Love it.
I have a question for you. And I don't know Where does a dream? How do you feel about dreams? Does dreams have anything to do? Because when you had mentioned if you put your body like an hourglass and it falls in, from the ether, so that made me think of like if maybe I'm not always in my body, and is that what dreams are? Because I'm a person who's had my entire life very, very, very vivid dreams. I've had dreams that come true. I am able to like get better at things in my dreams. I don't know if that's normal or if other people can do that, but I can. Like I'm really good at flying now. Like when I first started flying, I
She's a
sucked
flyer
at
in her dreams.
it. So like I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but I just, because I have such a rich experience with dreams, I'm just curious, like, what is it? Why?
Well, so dreams are very interesting, and the imagination is very interesting. And dreams and visions operate through this mechanism that we have of imagination. Typically, when we go to sleep, we have all kinds of dreams that we don't even remember. And
Right.
not just dreams, but we actually astral travel, we go to other dimensions. Our higher self works with us, and we have other guides and other entities on in different dimensions and realms that actually work with us and help us in this life. And sometimes we remember those things, sometimes we don't.
I think
The ones that we remember sometimes can be considered not just dreams, but visions. And those visions can really inspire us. So, yeah, your dreams can be visions, not just dreams.
because I have some really weird ones that I've never seen a movie or anything where anything gave me an idea, but like I've had dreams where like we connect to the trees, like
Yeah.
the roots of trees, and I don't, and it's very real, and the places are very detailed, and I've like oceans that look different than the oceans here. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, we talked earlier about reincarnation and how that's a facet of most uh, philosophical and religious philosophies on the planet believe in reincarnation, even though they might not want to talk about it. Reincarnation is very real. The Earth is a school, but Earth is not the only school in the universe. There's many. If you look just in the Milky Way itself, there's trillions of opportunities to grow in life forms in very different ways. And you'll hear people say, "Oh, I came from Venus," or "I came from the Pleiades," or "I came from Sirius," or whatever, and that's fine. Those are all local, but you get a little bit side out the Milky Way, and you'll find out the Milky Way is this little tiny galaxy, and then there's the bigger galaxies and even bigger ones than that and bigger ones than that. And so the existence of humanity isn't just on Earth, and some people may find that controversial, but there's more and more information that coming out on a daily basis about aliens and people who are not necessarily from the planet. And I'll call them people because they have typically, a head and legs and bodies, and some are different, and some do look very different than humanity. But humanity exists all over multiple galaxies and multiple dimensions. And you'll run across people, if you continue to do this spiritual work, you'll run across beings that have never incarnated. They do not have a body. They've never had a body. They've not chosen that. And what I believe through my interactions with some of these beings is that each of us listening right now, chose to come to Earth for our spiritual evolution. And Earth is a school. It's not easy. And so we had to really choose this. Say, "Oh yeah, I want to do that." And then we get here and we go, "Why did I come here? This is hard. This is difficult." Right. Our emotions get in the way. Our ego gets in the way. Our judgment gets in the way. All these things that we have to overcome within ourselves sometimes get in the way. But I'll say this, through suffering and through the pain that we go through and the suffering that we go through, if we stick with it and we open our minds, that pain that leads to suffering also leads to wisdom if we apply what we learned through the pain and suffering. And then when we apply the wisdom, now we grow up a little bit. Now we evolve a little bit. And I'll tell you that the spiritual path is the path of evolution. And it doesn't matter whether you're religious or not. You can keep your religion and still have a spiritual evolution,
Right.
that continues. I work with people of every different denomination, and even atheists who say they don't believe in God. I can still work with their higher spiritual nature. They don't have to believe in God to believe in their spiritual nature, believe it or not. So spiritual evolution is the fastest way to evolve on earth that I have seen so far.
Mhm.
I think for me, I always said I believed in God, but I don't think I really believed in God until this last year and a half of becoming more spiritual. I don't think I did. Not really. I just said that because, like, I don't know, you're supposed to, I guess. But I didn't want to say that I believed in nothing because I didn't believe that either, you know. But now I know that things are much. I think that things are much, much, much more complex than we can't conceive of it yet, kind of thing, because we aren't there yet. We're about maybe like you might be getting close to the top of the building, Gary, but like you said, I think we got another building to go, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's, we were programmed differently for so long. Everybody's just kind of coming into all this new knowledge and stuff, and like very empowering stuff we're learning about ourselves.
I feel like we were purposely led astray from knowing the things that, Gary, like you said, we were never taught about the spiritual side of ourselves, just like they don't teach us how to grow our own food in school. They don't teach us anything about really caring for ourselves in any way. And I say they as in, like, the system that has been set up or hijacked, however you want to look at it, is set up in a way that, so it's good what you're doing, Gary. And that's, you said you don't necessarily need you to do this, but like most people have no idea how to even go about doing anything like this because it's not taught. So people like you and like Susie are necessary right now, because let me tell you what, there's nothing to me that makes more of a difference than taking away the fear and the confusion behind the way that this world puts that in your heart. Understanding that things aren't the way that they portray them to be is, to me, the best news in the world. It makes the world a whole wonderful place for me to discover on my own and go inward with my experiences of this place. I look around and I see a wonder everywhere and everything, and it's beautiful. And I look around and I see how much I have and how many things and tools I have that I can use to create an opportunity for myself that's not there. I just see opportunity everywhere. And it's not, even though it should be scary. And, like I said, when Susie and I kind of met each other again, she helped me through all this. And if I didn't have that, I can't even imagine where I'd be right now. I know I'd be a lot heavier and a lot unhealthier and on a lot of medication.
All of that was within yourself. You did that all yourself. I just was the guide. And all of this that you're finding right now, it's all within yourself. So, like, you're doing it. You are doing this. You're doing this with your higher self.
You're right, Susie. You're right, Susie. Jara, what you did was you changed your focus, and Susie helped you to change your focus. And
Right.
thank you, Susie, for helping all the people that you do, and
thank you for
helping people to really shift their focus really changes their ability to make new choices. And if you focus on something, it grows. Your focus is like water on a plant. And so if you want a plant to grow, you don't ignore it. You water it. And so if you want something to grow in your life, you don't ignore it. You focus on it. And you focus on it with your emotion. You focus on it with your brains. You focus on it with your bodily activities. And when you do that, that will grow. And so, Jara, what you're talking about, you're noticing opportunity. You're noticing abundance. You're noticing beauty in the world and wonder and awe. And that's because you shift your focus. And shifting our focus is not easy in this life because of the amount of fear that's directed directly to us. And, if you turn on the TV every day and you scroll in your phone every day on all the news channels, they're just going to put fear on you.
Yeah.
And so the really big challenge is for us to not focus on the news, not focus on,
Right.
oh, what's going on in the war, what's going on in the economy. Some of that stuff can be relevant, but usually it's a distraction from the good things in our life that we can focus on.
Right. Right. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so well put.
True. Because we're most powerful.
I'm gonna
when
burn
we
that
focus
into
on
a wood
ourselves.
sign.
And when they don't want us to be that powerful, but we're most powerful when we focus on ourselves and when we're not distracted. That's why there's so many distractions,
Well, if you think about it, exploring alternate modes of consciousness is illegal in most of the world.
Right.
We mentioned earlier ayahuasca. I've done ayahuasca in the jungle 3 days in a row with the Shipibo tribe. It was fantastic and very transformative. I've done, many different plant medicines, and each one of them helped. It helped me to experience alternate levels of consciousness, and
Right.
that's illegal in our world. Why is it illegal to focus on alternate levels of consciousness? Through hypnosis, Susie, you actually help people through hypnosis to experience alternate levels of consciousness. And I will recommend that anybody who hasn't experienced Susie's work to do that, because alternate levels of consciousness are our path forward. If you stay in this, in our brain waves right now, most of us are in beta, which is like 29 cycles per second, but if we train ourselves through biofeedback or other methods to get to alpha in a waking state, alpha is down around the cycle of Earth, 9-10 cycles per second. And that's a very different experience of consciousness if you can do that in a waking state. And I can. You can train yourself with biofeedback. And there's a method that I used many, many years ago called the Silva method. Jose Silva.
That's what she's asking. Okay.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat right here. It says Gary's thoughts on the Silva method.
Oh,
so
it's
there
wonderful.
You go,
Yeah, Jose Silva of the Silva method is a wonderful man. And I met him, met his family, met some of the teachers there, went through their course, many years ago. And he is a guy who taught people to train themselves into getting yourself into alpha on purpose and doing creative things in your mind that are not common. And I think it's a very valuable process. It's how you create miracles in your life. It's one of the paths to getting to an alternate state of consciousness without any drugs. Susie, you can teach people to do that through hypnosis. Jara, you've probably experienced that in working with her.
Yeah. What is creating what do you get them to do? Creating something in their mind?
Well, once you're able to get into these levels of the mind, which is creating alpha in a waking state. Typically, alpha is a place when you wake up in the morning and you can kind of still remember your dreams, but you're still laying on your pillow and you haven't gone to the bathroom yet. You haven't drank any water yet. You should write them down. I've actually come up with inventions.
Wow.
When I wake up in the morning and go, what am I dreaming about? Oh, wow. And you just stay there, but you stay awake, but you stay kind of in that dream state. That's alpha. And your left and your right brain hemispheres become into balance when you get into alpha. And so there's this beautiful bridge.
I think when I'm woodworking, that happens. Is that possible to me?
Well, alpha can come and go through the Silva mind control method. They actually teach you through biofeedback how to get to alpha in a waking state, and then using neurolinguistic programming, you create a trigger to get to that alpha state very quickly. And so you could be driving a car, you could be anywhere. I use neurolinguistic programming. Once I get people to integrate their higher self into their body, I use NLP triggers to help them get back there very quickly. And I can tell you, NLP is a very real thing, and it really works, and it helps you to not just trigger certain states of being, but it can help you to trigger certain states of consciousness and spiritual presence once you have experienced that state of spiritual presence.
Is that like where you say a certain word that
like whenever I say to you, whenever you look in the mirror, you're going to remember.
Oh yeah. Oh, that works.
Sometimes I think I had you like rub your elbow or something, or to grab your ear.
Oh, when you did the put the things in my ears?
Oh no, that was something else.
Oh no, but there's been times where you had me had me say things, and I was always like, just noticed I was saying it.
Yeah, that's kind of like that. Yes, that's NLP.
So yeah, NLP is a wide field, but the thing I speak of really is physical triggers. So years ago, I spent a lot of money to go through this course with Tony Robbins, and I had already experienced the Silva method, and they talked about NLP there and creating this trigger, physical trigger. And then Tony Robbins said, "Oh, every time you hit your chest like this, you're going to go, I'm in a higher state of being, and you're going to just feel this." And he taught the whole room of 1,000 people to do this. And so NLP can be a variety of things, but typically, what I'm speaking of are the physical triggers that we can program within ourselves to trigger us to change our state of presence. And so if you're going through the Silva method, you can trigger the alpha. If you go through my process of the higher self integration, once I take everybody through that, it takes about an hour or so to do on the phone or Zoom, to go to the first level. And once I teach people to do that, I also help them to create an NLP trigger so they can get there moving forward without me very quickly, very easily. And so this helps them to continue their spiritual growth and their spiritual evolution. NLP is a very valuable tool. It really is.
That is so interesting. And I am excited to try all of this because I feel like I have experiences that I know that I have had that are in alignment with what the stuff that you're saying. Like, it sounds real. It makes sense, which for me, that's important. If something doesn't make sense, then I'm either missing a piece of information or somebody's not telling me the whole picture or something. But
that's right.
Everything you're saying, it makes sense. And it's exciting because I know I've always had a knowing that, like, we have the ability to do these types of things. And it's just weird how the world kind of always puts it in a category of woo-woo or like witchcraft or like.
Well, if you think about Christianity, even Christ said, he heals the blind and he brings people back from the dead and helps people to walk that couldn't walk and walks on water, and then looks right at the crowd and says, "You can do greater things than these."
Right.
And yet you go to the Christian world and you start talking about laying on of hands or any sort of all energy healing work, and they say, "Oh, that's witchcraft." And so really the Christian religion, most religions, not just Christianity, but most religions are really fear-based when it comes to embracing anything outside of their quote unquote dogma or doctrine. Which Christ was not about dogma or doctrine or even a church. He despised the churches because they actually were making money off of religion, off of spirituality, and he didn't like that. They were actually doing, and so being closed-minded is not a positive way forward,
right?
Jara, you were talking earlier about you kind of being a scientist. You kind of explore things with an open mind, and that's how we evolve. And so I would encourage people to, not put anything I say or Susie or Jara says into that category of witchcraft or woo-woo or whatever, but to have an open mind and to explore it themselves and what works for them and their spiritual growth. Because if you want to work out your body muscles, your body's going to grow. If you want to work out your mind and you study different things, your mind is going to grow. What I teach people is how to grow on their spiritual path, on how to evolve spiritually. And I believe that is a very valuable and necessary path for everyone to explore if you want to evolve and continue to evolve.
Right. And I would say that even go on further and say it's a necessary path to explore if you want to have any type of health in today's day and time, because we are literally bombarded with poison everywhere. And our bodies need spiritually to be like, okay, in order to replenish, that. I think it's a miracle that it has to be just the spirit part of the humanity that has kept us even okay with as much poison and stuff as we have everywhere. It's just insane. So
it is. Yeah, everybody's going to need to at some point get in touch with their mind, body, soul, spirit approach, because pretty soon we're not going to be able to really trust the doctors as much the way they're going this now. And so we're going to have to all figure out that everything we need is within us or around us, and get back to the way we were meant to be.
Right.
Which is our focus that we talked about earlier. You think about diabetes. What is diabetes really? It's a disease of consuming processed foods for
Thank
most
you,
people,
sir.
So
Thank you for
if we
saying
make a choice and we don't eat things that songs are written about, nobody writes a song about an apple or a banana or a plant-based or healthy meats or any of that, they don't write songs about that, but they'll write a song about a processed version of it that's in a piece of plastic that you
Right.
got to go to this special store to buy. And food that's in a wrapper is typically not that good for us, bottom line.
Right. And why did we start shipping food places? Like, that was not ever a good idea. Like, we should just plant the food and eat the food that, like, there. Who ever thought that was a good idea?
And grow food. We spoke about growing food earlier and how we're not really taught to grow healthy food. And
right.
The real truth is anyone on this earth could grow a garden.
Right.
Anyone.
Right.
Anyone, anywhere. It doesn't even matter where you are. Yeah, you just got to try. And each region has its own things that are easier to grow than others. But we could all grow some of our own food, and our neighbors can as well. And in different, if you go to South America, even lots of places in Mexico where I've been, there are so many gardens and so many people growing food that they exchange. Oh, I got more corn than beans, and you got more beans than corn, and what are you growing? And hey, you've got some meat over there. Hey, why don't we exchange with you? And we got away from that because of the quote unquote need for money to buy consumer goods. And do we really need to buy all these consumer goods, or are we focused on things that society is pushing on us through this fear mechanism? And I think that's so really
sad,
the truth.
I don't think most people even care about the things that we all think we care about. I mean, I know I don't, but like a lot of people, I don't know that they really do want to have that job where they know years, because it's like they've been trying at it and it's stressful. And I bet deep down inside, they just really want to just do whatever it is that they like doing and figure out a way to make that, to where they can have everything they need. They don't need a mansion. Most people are probably like that. It's the system that keeps convincing everybody that we all need to keep working and save for retirement and all that. And I know that in this, I'm just curious too, with all your travels, I feel like in this country that they kind of make us think that other countries are not the way they really are. I've never been outside of the United States, and I feel like there's so many places I want to see for myself because I don't know that we've been told correctly about things. Because like you said, there's so many gardens. It's like here, if we all planted food or planted plants that you could eat rather than things that look pretty, we'd have so much food. I just don't I don't understand why we do things in America that seem so, I don't know, that don't make sense to me.
America used to be different, pre-depression. If you go back to the way that our grandparents and their grandparents lived, whether they were indigenous or whether they were immigrants who came here and built a civilization and created the eventual society that we have now. But if you go pre-depression, there were people that had farms. Everybody had farms, and they really worked the land, and the land was really taken care of more, not just in the indigenous societies, but even in the Europeans that came here. They had to learn how to work the land because there weren't these big supply chains, these just-in-time supply chains that we all rely on these days. So if we just learn a little bit from our ancestors, and it's a really hard thing, like you said, Jara, to ignore the fear-based society around us that's constantly driving us to get a job, buy a new car, get a bigger house, keep up with the Joneses, don't raise your kids, put them in a daycare center, if we raised our kids, maybe we could teach our kids more about their own spirituality at a young age.
Right. Right. And again, it all goes back to that whole agenda thing. Let's not let them get away with it, guys.
I know.
It's our choice. It's our
It is.
choice
It
what we
is our
focus
choice. And
on.
that's the thing. It's like people
Yeah.
don't realize how much power we have in that. Susie and I always say to people and to ourselves that everything is our fault. And that's good, because if everything's your fault, then I have to wait for you to want to fix it. And that sucks,
So
but
you
if it's
take
my
your power
fault, then I can fix it now. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
There's
yeah.
a
That's
great
how we take
saying.
our power back. Yeah.
There's a great saying, if you want to change the world and you want to rid the world of all the evil, change yourself and rid yourself of all your judgments and all your evil, and work on yourself before you point the finger and judge somebody else. Point your fingers at yourself, realize that you're judging yourself and other people. Stop judging. You do the forgiveness work, and then
Do the work.
really do the inner work. And I can promise each person listening, if you do the inner work inside, your world will change.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
only
yes.
way it will change, actually. Because
That is the only way. That's the whole reason we're here. Like, this is so important, you guys. The world needs healing right now. This is how we're going to make the world a better place. So do the work. Just do the work. You'll feel so much better. And it is hard. It's hard. Nobody wants to do the work. That's why we haven't done it. But please do it.
it's contagious too. So, it catches.
Somebody will see you doing the work, and then somebody will see you feeling so much more healed and better. And then maybe somebody else will do the work, and then they'll be healed and better. So create a ripple effect. Let's do it. Just do it.
Absolutely.
And you can help other people. Like, this show helps people. Susie, you help people. Jara, you help people. If we all help ourselves to evolve, our cup becomes full, and then we can help other people.
Right.
Without taking anything away from ourselves. We can help other people. And I've found through my own efforts that if you really want to experience inner growth, help somebody who cannot help you back.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I agree 1,000%. Even and maybe nobody will ever know that you even helped that person, but just
you know.
Well, yeah.
And you don't have to tell anyone. That's part of a. If you look at the definition of a bodhisattva in the Buddhist tradition, they will do things and never mention it to anyone ever. And there's their spiritual growth. They're not about ego saying, "Oh, look what I did."
Right. Absolutely.
They know what they did, and they know why they did it. They understand their motivation to do it, and they understand the benefits of doing it, and that's enough.
Right. Yeah. And Absolutely. It is enough too, because they reap the benefits of from the inside, the feeling and the empowerment and all the things that it gives you by being that way and doing things that way.
Absolutely. And you said, Gary, that you're going to be here in Arizona, right? In a couple months or something?
Yeah, I've got some friends there, and Joey's offered to, bring some people over and do some higher self integration work in the Phoenix area. And so I'll make sure you ladies know when I'm coming out.
Yes,
and
I would love to participate in that. I would
be
very
great
much.
To meet you both in person,
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
And so, Gary, if anybody else wants to bring powerful energy and wisdom from their higher selves to them, how would they get a hold of you and give them all the details here?
Well, the best way to do it is you can either go to my website, which is higherselfnow.love, or you can text me at my cell phone, which is 714-915-1183. And I can schedule higher self integration processes over the phone, over Zoom, or I can do it in person if we're in the same part of the country. I travel to Michigan and Florida and different states around the country, as well as other countries. And I do this work wherever I go. I'm guided to just continue this. I know this is part of my path. When I was able to speak directly with my higher self and get this process for myself and then understand how to teach it to others, I understood that I was given that for a reason. And the reason is to share this with as many people as possible who are interested in evolving.
Right. Absolutely. And you're in California, right?
Yeah, I'm in California.
You.
Yeah, I'm in California right now, and will be for the next couple of weeks. And so if someone wants to reach out to me again, just hit my website, higherselfnow.love, or 714-915-1183. Schedule your session with me, and it takes about an hour, hour and a half sometimes, usually about an hour. And I'll teach you how to fully integrate your higher self into your body. You will experience it. You will know that you've experienced it. And then I'll also teach you how to go there in the future without me, so that you can continue your spiritual evolution without having to call me up and go through this process again. I also teach others how to teach this. And so once you go through higher self integration yourself, I can teach you level 1, which is a practitioner, level 2, which is a counselor, and level 3, which is a master teacher.
Nice.
Wow.
Cool. I'm interested in all of that.
Yes, I
Yay.
know. That's awesome. So I had a few people in the chat ask about about how, like, what price range do you work with?
So the individual sessions on the phone are $200. In person, they can be anywhere from $400 to $600, depending on what we're doing. If it incorporates the forgiveness protocol or not, all these things change my level of focus. And as I mentioned, I've been a Reiki master for many years. Went through the Silva mind control method. I've done a variety of different, plant medicine modalities. And so I really incorporate all things that I've learned. I've done shamanistic practices. And so I incorporate all the tools that I've learned throughout my many years of doing this work to
Amazing.
help people to evolve. And that is the key. Forgiveness work is a very, very big part of it. The forgiveness protocol is actually a 3-day process of doing forgiveness work, and then a full day session follows that. The forgiveness protocol over the phone is it takes about an hour, hour and a half. Those sessions are about $200 over the phone, and a little bit more in person. I also do group sessions. So if there's an opportunity to get in front of a group, I can do a whole group at the same time. I'm doing a group tomorrow in Orange County. And I like doing the groups so that people get a chance to share it with other people. And the one-on-one is very powerful. I can tell you, most people want the one-on-one in person because it's a very powerful experience.
Wow.
But the groups are also beautiful. The phone sessions really work. I have people in different time zones in Hawaii and East Coast and West Coast and all over the place. I've got 2 scheduled for tomorrow. So it's a beautiful process that really anyone, if they want to experience, you just have to actually say yes to it and experience it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And it sounds like they are getting a lot, like just a lot with going to you for your healing modality, because it sounds worth every penny and more. It sounds priceless. Actually, what you're doing for yourself is priceless. It's life-changing.
You have a lot of knowledge and a lot of different experiences too, from all the
light is very bright. Your light is very bright. I feel your energy, and it is so amazing. And I really want people to come out and see what you have to offer, because this is what the world needs, and you are doing an amazing job. So
thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. I'll add one thing. There's so many medications out there for people who have anxiety, and I have personal contacts with friends that are going through really traumatic things in their lives. And a few of them have accepted this as a possibility and gone through the higher self integration with me. And they now no longer take their anxiety medications at all. 0 medications. And now they just go through this process. And whenever they feel anxiety coming on, they go through this process. Their anxiety leaves. They feel peace and calm. And when you're at a peaceful and calm state of spiritual presence, you're the smartest person in the room because you're calm.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're in a calm state, you make better, more healthy decisions. And especially if you're using the higher self integration, you're making decisions about your evolution from a healthy spiritual standpoint. And it really makes a difference, not just for yourself, but think about your loved ones and what they experience with you. And the anxiety that you have, you share with them, or the peace that you have, you share with them as well.
Absolutely. And I feel like for me, it unlocked something creative, because all these ideas just started flowing into my brain. And, you talk about the pharmaceutical thing. Not a lot of people, I don't publicly say this usually, but I battled major depressive disorder and general anxiety disorder, and was on several psych meds. So those block your thinking ability and your creativity, and I feel like that kind of blocks your ability to get to your higher self.
It does.
So
It
it
really
unlocks
does.
something when you reach that part of yourself. It unlocks something that
Well,
just creates this flow.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
agree with you there. I'm also working with people who write and direct movies and television and write books and do creative projects. And it really doesn't matter what your focus is in life, but if your higher spiritual nature is present in your body, you're going to be a better director, producer, writer, musician, painter, mother, father, doctor. You're
Mhm.
going to be a
Yeah.
better human being because your
Yeah.
highest spiritual nature is in your body.
Right.
So if you want to be
Yeah.
more creative, bring your highest spiritual nature in your body. If you want to be more loving and present in any way, whether it's a conversation that you're having with someone that you really love and care about, or you're running a business, or you have something really important to do, bringing your highest spiritual nature is very important. And I'll say this also, if you just pray deeply, often, when you pray, you're opening the pathway to your higher self and your higher spiritual nature to be more present within your body. And so if you need, some help with hypnosis, Susie can help you. If you'd like, to go really fast and get your full spiritual nature in your body, you can call me. But even without that, just praying and acknowledging your higher self, acknowledging the creator, acknowledging the beauty that spiritual path brings to you will help you right now.
Mm.
I'm excited to do it because
Yeah.
yes, I think I'm gonna. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna be good at that.
Yeah, I think it's needed. I think it was just beautiful having you on.
Yes, thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
I feel amazing just talking to you. So I can't wait to.
I'd like to have him back too, because you said that you're going to be working on that movie about the different prophecies. I think that is fascinating. So maybe we could have you back and talk about that sometime too.
Happy to do it anytime, ladies. Thank you so much for having me on, and thanks everybody for listening and tuning in, and really support these ladies. I think you guys are doing a great job at bringing valuable information to people that really need it.
Thank you so much.
We
provide a space for people to come and just be a judgment-free zone, So thank you everybody for tuning in. If you're new here, please hit the like button, subscribe, share it. Join us next week, and I will see everybody around in the chat rooms. And thank you again, Gary. Very
thank you, and you have a wonderful night. And we will be in touch with you also.
Yes, we will.
Beautiful. Thank you,
All
ladies.
right. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.